Hello students, welcome to the English Matters. Today I have brought a brand new lesson on English literature, and this is going to be a very simple but popular poem by William Wordsworth, and this is for the ICSE students. Now before I get into the lesson, let me tell you that recently I have got one book uploaded on Amazon written by me. You can get a copy of this book by visiting amazon.com, and it's just for 99 rupees. If you have not got the copy of this, do consider it buying, and it will benefit you when it comes to learn English grammar. Okay, and in case you have not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe it as fast as possible so that whenever I upload new lesson, you get the information right there on your device. So let's get started with the poem. Now we will learn something about William Wordsworth first. William Wordsworth was a Romantic Age poet. Romantic Age poem began towards the end of the 18th century. Now, Romantic Age poets stood against the neoclassicism of poetry, where neoclassical poetry, the common people could not relate with the poet and his expression. But Romantic Age poet, where Wordsworth's main idea was that poetry is the emotion recollected in tranquility. When you're all by yourself and what you think of, jotting it down on a paper, or it comes out of your emotion, that becomes the poetry. So that's where common people can relate. They could relate their life with their poetry. Okay, so that's what the Romantic Age all about. Romantic Age, William Wordsworth was born on April 17, 1770, died on April 23rd, 1850. He was popularly known for his lyrical ballads, which was published in 1798 in collaboration with his contemporary poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Wordsworth was the second of the 5 children born to John Wordsworth and Anne Cookson. Just a small information, this piece of information about William Wordsworth, you can get a whole lot of details by visiting Wikipedia. Alright, now let's get started. I'll read the poem first, and after reading, I'll get the explanation done for you. The Daffodils. I wander lonely as cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretch in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So this is just a reading. You can work on the pronunciation by listening to it again and again. Let's get into the details of this poem. I'll do it stanza wise. Alright, so first stanza. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Okay, now here, if you look at this particular stanza, here it starts with, it says, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Okay, so here the poet, right, William Wordsworth, has compared himself with cloud. Okay, there's a simile. He says, I am like a cloud. I wandered. He is walking lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. So vales here mean valleys. It is in Old English. So that cloud which is going all above his head in the sky, it's just walking, it's passing by, and he's walking lonely like a cloud. And when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So probably he has experienced this in reality in the past. Now when he sits back and imagines all those what he had experienced in the past and tries to express it in his words, that's how it comes See how simple it is, that he saw a crowd of daffodils, a bunch of daffodils. So crowd here has been used as a figure speech called hyperbole. Okay, hyperbole. We pronounce e in the end, hyperbole. So when all at once I saw a crowd, a lot of daffodils in the field, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees. And where is this field of daffodils located? Beside the lake, beneath the trees. So row of trees just running in the length, and definitely beside that there's a big field, imagine, and though that field, it's full with daffodils. Okay, it's completely filled with daffodils. Okay, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. And how are these daffodils behaving? They are fluttering and dancing. So you can say dancing, it has been personified, that the movement of daffodils have been personified. They are dancing, they have been given the human characteristics. So poet has used the personification, and they are moving, swaying, moving with irregular sounds, dancing. Fluttering means it's like when you see a flag making movement in the air, they make some sort of noise also, sound. That is called fluttering. And fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So you can just imagine how he had experienced seeing the daffodils in the field beside the lake, beneath the trees. So this is the first stanza where he has jotted down his experience. Now second stanza, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Okay, so here, when he looked at the daffodils in the field, it says it's so many, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. Now here again he has used the figure speech simile. He is telling the number of daffodils are like the stars that shine in the Milky Way, in the sky above. So they are huge in number, and numbers have been compared with the number of stars in the sky. Okay, they stretch in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. Bay is it's a water body, like we say Bay of Rann-Kutch or Bay of Bengal. Okay, so they stretch in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. So it again talks about the infinite number of daffodils. Now he has not counted, but again he says 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So here 10,000 is a kind of expression that is called figure speech. We call it exaggeration in English, and the physical the number has not been counted, but it's just the poet has expressed the infinite number by saying 10,000, and that is called hyperbole. Okay, you could not count, but in one go he said 10,000. Like we have a habit of saying, I have told you 10,000 times. Literally we don't say 10,000 times. So whatever number of times, maybe 5-6 times the things were reminded, but out of irritation, out of anger, we say 10,000 times. That is called hyperbole. So at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. And again, this particular line, the last line of the stanza, has been personified. The daffodils are tossing their heads, that striking their. So when the top of the daffodils are just coming close to each other, it's like tossing their heads. So it's an activity being done by them as a human characteristic given to the daffodils, again with these words, tossing their heads. This is called personification. So they are dancing happily, merrily. Okay, like they are being so lively in the field. Okay, so this is about the second stanza. Let's move forward to the third stanza. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Excuse me. Now, let's analyze this particular stanza. The waves beside them danced. Okay. Now, where there's the field of daffodils located, just beside them there is a sea wave. there is a sea, and sea waves are making a lot of movement, and it says the waves beside them dance, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. So, but if there's a competition going on between the action performed by daffodils and the waves, it's only the daffodils are getting the edge, because says outdid the sparkling waves in glee. They are doing much better than these sea waves. And now here the poet has used the personification dance, because he is personifying the sea waves, that being they are given the human characteristics, because sea waves are called to be dancing, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. But the daffodils are doing much better than the sea waves. Okay, okay, and glee is again personification used for the daffodils. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company, and this poet William Wordsworth is finding it so soothing, and he is really enjoying this particular atmosphere. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So here he's looking at the entire activities beside the wave of the sea, and the activity of this daffodils, these daffodils, and he is enjoying. And he says, I gazed, I looked and looked, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Nothing could have been better than this. And he really mesmerized by the beauty of the scenic beauty of the settings out there. Okay, and here gaze and gaze, it has been used in such a way that the poet has used alliteration, where the g sound has been repeated. The letter, the sound at the beginning of the words, the consonant sound especially, when it is repeated, it's called alliteration. The poet has used alliteration. Let's go to the fourth and the last stanza. For oft is for often. For often or oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Okay, let's analyze this last stanza. He says, oh, so after saying when he came back and he just lied down, whenever he thinks about the experiences he received at the field, seeing the daffodils and dancing sea waves, okay, whenever he's not doing anything, in his mind is empty, and or in pensive mood, or a little bit of some kind of troubling is running crisscross in his mind, they flash upon that inward eye. Then these memories come back in dreams. Inward eye relates to the dream, and when he just lies down and there's nothing going on, then during those times this all starts coming back and forth into his mind, which is the bliss of solitude. And really he enjoys such moment of solitude, such loneliness, where he could really think about, ponder on these beautiful scenic beauty. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. And all these things really bring like a happiness, and such a feeling which he cannot explain it in words. And there the feeling of pleasure he receives, that nothing can replace such pleasure, there's no possibility we can get such pleasure for anything in this life. And dances with the daffodils, and hence with such a beautiful expression that his heart starts dancing with pleasure along with the daffodils. And here the poet has used the alliteration, where the sound d is being repeated. Dances daffodils, dances with the daffodils, d sound at the beginning of the words. So this is a very simple poem. The beauty of the daffodils, and the experience the poet had gone through in the past, been described later on when he sat back and thought about all this and jotted down, to let us know that how the daffodils look so beautiful, and how he enjoyed so merrily along with their dancing. So I think you have liked the poem, and you need to ponder on two important questions related to this poem. Justify the appropriateness of the title, the daffodils. Yes, it is appropriate. You can explain it in your words, that how William Wordsworth has used this daffodils to talk about the beauty and to talk about the soothing feeling it brings to any one of us when we really are in on a vacant or in a pensive mode situation, and justify and write the theme of the poem, and do ask me questions if you have any in the comment section below. I'll come back to you with a new lesson very soon, and you take care, keep learning, students. Bye bye.